January 5th, 2023. Police are on the lookout for Constance Marten and Mark Gordon after their car was left smouldering and abandoned on the side of a motorway. Inside the wreckage was found a pile of cash, her passport, some blankets, and a fresh placenta. In the surrounding forest was a trail of abandoned nappies. The search for them now included a newborn child. They were soon being spotted in Colchester, 20 miles away, then in London, then further south at the town of Newhaven, and finally the seaside town of Brighton. And being spotted with them, a plastic shopping bag. Finally, after 53 days at large, they were arrested outside a tent they'd been squatting in. But the baby was nowhere to be found. Unfortunately, despite the authorities' best efforts, the body was found a few days later in an abandoned shed, being hidden in a plastic shopping bag. But how did we get here? Well, the couple couldn't be a more unlikely pairing. Constance Marten was born into a landed aristocratic family, one with ties to the royal family no less. She was raised in her family's generational manor, a 5,000-acre estate. Her life at first was on track, and she studied Arabic at the top-rated Leeds University, which is included in the Russell Group, the British equivalent of the Ivy League. Soon enough, she was working as a journalist for Al Jazeera, no doubt her parents having pulled some strings. Whether or not you could call it nepotism, she was nonetheless doing well in life. The trajectory of Mark Gordon was quite different to say the least. Born in Birmingham but raised in Florida, he had a criminal history by the age of 14, breaking and entering a mother's home intending to rob it, but then forced her at gunpoint to undress. He proceeded to rape her for 4 hours, while her children hid in the next room. After his 15th birthday, he was charged with 1 count of armed kidnapping, 4 counts of armed sexual battery, evidently that wasn't his first time, and 1 count of burglary with a deadly weapon. He went on the run, and 3 weeks later he attempted to rob a home just 6 doors down from the previous one. He broke in, stole some knives from the kitchen, then went upstairs and beat the sleeping homeowner mercilessly with a shovel for no real reason. This time he was caught and was sentenced to 40 years. He was released after 20 and deported back to the UK, now at the age of 35 and almost middle-aged. Constance and Mark met in Nigeria while she was working for Al Jazeera. They ended up in a relationship, sharing an alternative and vaguely hippie-esque view on the world. Quitting her job, she travelled with him to Peru, where they were married in an unofficial native ceremony, not recognised by the UK. From there, they lived in London suburbs, then in a caravan, and finally in a tent, where they had their first child. Her sudden switch from well-adjusted but perhaps naive aristocrat to bohemian traveller was unusual, and by this point she had cut ties with her family, who never even met Mark Gordon. It's theorised her switch was linked to a semi-cultish megachurch she had started attending in Nigeria, but it's uncertain, most likely linked to a sudden but untreated mental health crisis. Constance got pregnant a second time and went to the hospital. At this point, she was living off-grid to avoid her family, who she thought would take away her child, and was paranoid they were hiring private investigators to track her down. She lied about her name, as did Mark Gordon, and told the doctors they were Irish travellers. She even put on an Irish accent. The doctors could sense something was up, and they sent an alert to other hospitals. She gave birth to her child and managed to keep up her fake accent throughout the birth, but their identities were nonetheless easily uncovered. She claimed she was running from her family who were abusive, suggesting they would be against the marriage due to his race. Child Services investigated their tent. It was full of dirty nappies and bottles of urine. She criticised the police, claiming they led naturalist lifestyles and that she was being persecuted for this, going as far as to say her parents were paying off the police to try and take away her children, as if to confirm this fear in a sort of chicken or egg situation. Her father applied for wardship. She refused to turn up to an investigation, claiming the authorities were being draconian. By this point, she was on her 4th pregnancy in 4 years. The child was born ill and was kept in hospital. A court hearing claimed she needed to accept an investigation, and she fled. Then, the rest of her children were taken away by social services. Constance and Mark's life and lies fully unravelled from here, as she got pregnant a 5th time. Determined not to have it taken away, she hid her pregnancy for the full 9 months. Then, an explosion on the side of the motorway was reported near Manchester. Her passport and several burner phones were discovered, as well as a placenta. Multiple nappies were discovered in a surrounding forest. The police began their investigation. It was only then that her family uncovered the horrifying history of the man who was the father of their 5th grandchild. The now fugitive couple was sighted in Colchester, 20 miles away, before they got a 70-mile taxi journey to London. Footage shows Constance, accompanied by Mark, with their days-old child. They got another long-haul taxi journey, costing £400 to Newhaven. An onlooker spotted them in a blue tent in a public park. 2 dishevelled-looking adults, and they just about caught sight of the baby. Its head was wobbly, and it was deathly pale. A few days later, they were spotted again in the city of Brighton, without a baby. Then, finally, CCTV footage caught them trying to break into a golf course during the night, possibly to scrounge for food in the bins, and she was holding a plastic shopping bag. Finally, someone called them in. The police arrived at their tent during the night and arrested them.
Where's the child, madam? Where is the child, please? Daddy there. Look at me. Section 27, Offence Against the Person Act, expose a child under the age of 2 years, whereas by life or health to be endangered. Do you understand what you've been arrested for?
The last time, not the first two.
Right.
I can't arrest someone for hiding a pregnancy.
Right. Okay, well, okay, they are the offences that I've arrested you on suspicion of. The necessity of your arrest is protect from a person and prevent disappearance. Do you understand that you've been arrested? Section 27, Offence Against the Person Act, expose a child under the age of 2 years, whereas life or health is to be endangered. Do you understand? Understand what I've said to you? Do you understand what I've said to you? You've been further arrested for 3 more offences. Where's your child, my friend? Where's the child?
My food, please.
In a minute, where's your child? Where's your child?
Food?
In a minute, where's your child? Where's your child?
My food, please.
In a minute, where's your child?
Food.
Not on the
What are
moment.
you grabbing me for?
Where's your child?
Is that aggression necessary?
He's not being aggressive.
Of course you are. I'm not doing anything that's family.
Where's the child?
I want food.
We want to know where the child is.
Have my food.
Is the child alive?
I want food, please.
Is your child alive? Where's the child?
Food?
Where's the child?
Food, please. Would have any food?
Chicken?
Chicken, alright? No, where's mayonnaise, please?
With mayonnaise? We're not going to be able to give you an entire meal, mate.
No, please. I've got food and stuff.
I'm not going to make you a sandwich. We need to work out where your child is, mate.
I've got food to eat.
Yeah, we got a child to find.
Okay.
It's a bit more important. We want to know where this child is.
My
We need to know. It's important.
food looks important.
Where is the child?
When was the last time you saw the child?
Food and drink, please.
Do you still have your child?
What's the big deal about getting my food?
She claimed her name was Annabelle, but the police had already verified them. They hadn't come to question, but to arrest the couple and save their newborn child. But they both refused to reveal its whereabouts. The only thing Mark said during the whole arrest was to ask for snacks. Hoping to coax an answer from him, they obliged, and offered him crisps and chicken. Mark asked for mayo, and they said, "We're not making you a sandwich, we want to know where the baby is." The only thing Gordon said was, "What's the big deal?" and carried on eating crisps off the ground. They searched the shed they'd been staying in. Inside were bags containing stale bread and milk, and under a table, a plastic bag full of dirt and litter. They knew right away from the stench that their search was over. Indeed, the body of the baby, who they later found was named Victoria, was cold to the touch, and they knew it must have been dead for some time. She'd been carrying the body this way for weeks. During interrogation, Mark refused to say anything and only complained about a pain in his leg. He seemed confident that the jury would understand his side of the story. Mark said he did love Victoria and that she was a great mother, but was suffering from PTSD. They both claimed the car explosion had changed everything, and that they had everything they needed, but it was destroyed in the fire, and had no choice but to go on the run, since they knew the police would take away baby Victoria. They denied charges of manslaughter, and so the trial began. The defence claimed that baby Victoria had only survived 2 days after the explosion, and that really everything they needed to survive, such as blankets, clothes and money, had all been in that car. But the prosecution asserted that the timeline didn't add up, since eyewitnesses and CCTV cited them weeks after the explosion, and that baby Victoria probably died as late as early February. When it was Constance's turn to take the stand, her testimony was extremely incriminating, going on meandering monologues, going back on statements that were already in record and had been agreed with her own defence, and having shouting matches with the judge. She also made many bizarre claims, such as that baby Victoria couldn't have died from hypothermia through living in a tent, citing Mongolian yurts as an example of other cultures practicing this way of life. It was a lifestyle choice on their part, she claimed. When pressed on the cover-up of her child's death, she claimed she was planning on burying it but hadn't got around to it. She also defended the dirt and litter piled on top of the body, claiming she had no choice since they were taking it everywhere with them and were getting strange looks on the bus due to the smell, so they covered the body. She claimed this wasn't insensitive, since the body wasn't Victoria. Her spirit, she said, had left by that point. Bodies are like spacesuits, only inhabited by a spirit, she claimed. Both Mark Gordon and Constance Marten were found guilty of manslaughter and neglect of their daughter, as well as the cover-up of her death, the verdict being delivered just a few months ago in 2025 after a retrial. The sentences are yet to be announced.